Hi, beautiful girl. I'm outside on my little break working from home. I just wanted to finish off or try to continue our story from yesterday about mommy and daddy's love story for you. So it's April 2022. So to continue our love story, we took our honeymoon on a cruise to the Caribbean. Royal Caribbean was my favorite ship. I always, hopefully you can make it there someday, pretty girl. So it was interesting. Your dad was his first cruise. I went when my parents took me when I was younger, but it was funny because it was your dad's first cruise, and I didn't know why he was kind of locked in the room the whole time. He didn't really want to come out and do much, and I didn't really know why. Turns out, found out later, he was scared just being on the boat in the middle of the ocean, and he didn't tell me that, so I found out after the cruise when he told me that. At the time I was like, why is he in the room? And it was kind of frustrating, but they had buffet, so we pretty much lived in the buffet, and it was so funny. One day I think your dad ate 7 cheeseburgers and it was so funny he couldn't even button his shirt because his belly got so big, and we really had a good laugh, so that was fun, but we didn't do much on the ship. We played a little mini golf, and but other than that, your dad wanted to be in the room, and until we got to the island. And then the island, we did the excursions, the quads, the jet skis, and that's where we had a time. Your dad really loved that, and that was a blast, and I really hope you get to do that someday, beautiful girl. And then afterwards, it was funny. Your dad was like, oh, that was a lot of fun. But he was like, no, I don't want to do that again, I guess, because the ship was a little scary. But I always hoped someday to do it again. But now it's your turn, baby. I hope you find your favorite adventures to go on in your life and enjoy it. Okay? I love you. And so then after that, to back up, I think I left out how I was trying to help your dad so much with his business before we got married. Like I said a little bit, I was so strung out on how life needed to go and how life needed to be, and I was determined that we were going to get married, have this big house, have kids, and I was so determined. So I was really pushing your dad with his business to do better, to have contracts, to do estimates and writing, to be on time, on schedule, and I did so much. I put so much of my heart and soul into that. I loved business, and I loved money, I loved working with money, and I loved actually paperwork. People don't like paperwork, but I loved making contracts and bills, and I helped your dad establish his LLC, and I was just really pushing him, and it was hard. It was a lot of fighting, working together, and I give a lot of people credit that work with husband and wife or a family member, as it's not easy. You're gonna butt heads, and especially me and your dad, we have the same interests. We both work hard. We both like adventurous sports, and we both love being outdoors, but we butt heads where he's a night owl, I'm a morning person. I'm always on time, he's always late. I like to go out to eat, and stuff like that, and he doesn't. We're similars but opposites, so we were butting heads a lot, and After the wedding, it kind of got worse. We were arguing a lot about the business. He wasn't using my contracts that I'd poured my heart out. He wasn't, doing the jobs on time. And I was involved, and I was talking to the customer or here and there, and they would get mad at me. Like, why didn't he, show up? It was stressful. Plus, I was working my full-time job, so it was me yelling at John, your dad, why are you not there? This customer's yelling at me, and how come you didn't have them fill out this contract? And, you have to, and it was hard. So it was stressful. So it got, worse, and that got worse after we got married. So eventually your dad kind of started pulling back. Like, I guess when things upset him, he kind of just doesn't deal with it instead of talking about it. And I tried to talk about it, and I tried to discuss it, and any friend I had said just talk to him about it, and he kind of just shut down. So he started working more, so I didn't really see him. He'd come home late, and I didn't really see him, and he wouldn't discuss anything with me. So I took it upon myself, and I joined the gym to try to do something for myself, because I spent my time after work waiting for him, and he was just like working all the time and not coming home till I was, asleep, and not really, we weren't really talking too much. And I said, if you don't organize things and start doing things with financially and stuff with the business, then I can't keep carrying on this business. I was doing the books for the business and paying the taxes, and I was helping him do the books and everything. But if he wasn't going to work with me, I was going to quit from my accountant or my helping. So eventually I just quit helping, and we kind of just stopped talking, and he worked, and I was going to the gym, and it was we were living together, but we weren't together. So it was hard for me. So that's when I told your dad, I'm going to go to my own place, if we don't work this out. And he heard me, and he knew about it, and it was 6 months notice, and I gave him, and I really prayed he came around, but he just ignored it. So 6 months came, and I just went and I got my own studio apartment, and it was really, really hard for me, and it was really, really stressful on me. I didn't want it. I was really hoping your dad would meet me halfway or talk to me about it, but I guess it's my fault too. You can't push anyone. You can't change anyone. I was fighting for my dream, and I wanted John to help me make my dream of this perfect life of how I thought things were supposed to go. I thought life was supposed to be a certain way, and I guess I was pushing him, and so it was my fault too. So we were separated for, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years, but we stayed friends during that whole time. And it wasn't till we separated that your dad really started trying to talk about it, and hey, wait, where'd you go? And I'm like, you're surprised? I was asking you to talk about it all this time, so, but then he really started trying. But I said, I can't do this business stuff. I said, please, I want you to get a job for a company, so we don't have the arguments about money and bills and about your business. If you just get a job for a company. And I couldn't change your dad, and I feel you can't change people. You got to work together. and I couldn't, so he said no. So we got divorced, but during that whole time we were divorced, we stayed in friends. And honestly, your dad's a good guy because, when we stayed in touch, and he had to drop something off, or I had to drop something off, I remember he was dating somebody else, and he said, oh no, I can't get in your car, I don't want to upset her. So he is really a good guy, and he, as far as that goes, a lot of guys cheat and everything, and that's the one thing about your dad. He's, as far as I know, he's respectful in that way, and that's hard to find nowadays. So I appreciated that. But then, anyways, it didn't work out. Your dad dated, and I tried to date, and it didn't work out. And it was, I think, really stressful for me. I don't know about your dad, but it was just a really stressful time. Then I ended up starting to get sick from stress. I didn't know what was wrong with me at the time. It was my TMJ causing all of the issues you see here today. Slowly declined over these years. It slowly got worse. But it started from stress, so stress can kill you, baby, so please remember that. So I started getting sick, and it was very slow, and I ended up crashing my car, and it actually was not my fault. There was a recall on the brakes. I swear, to be honest, there was a recall on the brakes on my Eclipse, and I loved my Eclipse. I still have it, and you can see it, and I hope you can have it if it's still alive someday. I used to take really good care of that car. I bought it when I was 19. It was practically brand new. There was a recall on the brakes, so I took it to Mitsubishi for the recall, and literally all they did was they said they said the parts weren't in yet for the recall, and they just they cleared the brakes, the lines, like the air out of the brake lines, and then the parts came in, I think, for the recall, and they didn't fix the problem. Mitsubishi was doing it very cheaply. I don't know what they replaced, but they didn't fix the problem, and the brakes weren't stopping. So it was taking a really long time for the car to stop. So I remember I was going, I think, to my mom's, and in Trumbull, I went around a turn, and a car stopped right there, and I hit the brakes, and a normal car should have stopped, but I went right into the back of the car, and I was really stressed out and sick at the time, so I was starting to get sick, and I didn't know what was wrong with me, and probably wasn't paying as good of attention as I should have, and I hit the car, and I got out of the car, and just out of nowhere, your dad was just right there. He saw the whole thing, and he was right there driving by, and he was like, "Pal, are you okay?" And he pulled over, and I thought it was a sign from God, like we're supposed to be together. I had no car. I was starting to get sick with all these symptoms. I had nowhere to turn, and there was your dad. And your dad just says, "Come on, get in my car, let's go." I ended up staying with your dad, and then things were really good. We got back together. Your dad was taking me to the movies. We had agreements. He was going to not work on Sundays. He was going to try to be home for dinner. We had these, agreements, and things were going well. So I moved in with your dad, and things were going well, and I was getting sick and worse. And I fixed my jaw, and your dad took me to all these dentist appointments in New York to fix my jaw. And I thought that's all I had to do until I found, I had Eagle syndrome and had to have surgery. So your dad took me for the first surgery in Pennsylvania. Of course, they didn't do it in Connecticut. So we went to the top Eagle surgeon as close as possible, according to the doctor's list in the Eagles group, and we went to Philadelphia and went for the first surgery. And your dad took me, and we stayed in a hotel for a week for the surgery. And then I needed the other side done, and your dad started fighting with me. It was really stressful. He didn't want to go for the other surgery, and I cried, and I begged him, and I cried. I finally convinced him, and he brought me for the second surgery, and he said it was just really stressful. And he was actually in the bathroom the whole time on the toilet because it was really stressful, and it was, helping somebody through a surgery like that, especially, a major surgery and caring for them. It's not easy. And so then he got me through the second surgery, and I was doing really good, and I was back to hanging out with your dad and his friends, and they would ride quads here on Sunday, and I thought I was better. And every Sunday everybody would come here. It was Sunday, we have cookout, hot dogs and hamburgers on the grill, and I'd get tons of snacks, or we'd order pizza and we'd cook out, and we'd have a fire, and everybody would bring their quads, and we'd ride quads. And this was a perfect spot, our little house in the woods. It was everything came together, and I thought I was cured, and I prayed to God, and I said, thank you. Thank you so much for, thank you for, saving me, God. And I said to John, I wanted a family, so, I just, I said, I don't want to waste time. I almost died. God saved me. And, I said I wanted a family. So we tried for you, pretty girl. And I don't know, why it didn't work all those years ago when we tried. But then I put it on hold for us to try to get our life in our house and married, and like I thought you were supposed to. So then we tried for you, and within 3 months of me having my last Eagle surgery, you were, and in my mommy's belly, and we were so happy, and I prayed and I thanked God, and your daddy was happy, and we were so happy. And then but I still didn't feel good. And even before I got pregnant, I remember, I think, one of your dad's friends said to me, oh, we're gonna go snowboarding this year. And I was just like, no, I can't. And they were like, why? You're better. You had the surgery. You're better. And I couldn't explain it, but I wasn't better. I didn't feel right. I still had symptoms. I still felt like something was wrong. The doctors couldn't figure it out, nor did they care to help me look into what was wrong. So I just kept living my life, and I thought I had to live with the symptoms I had. But I just didn't feel right, but I was functioning and living. And the pregnancy was rough because I was really sick, but then you came, and everyone saw how happy I was. Me and your daddy were so happy, and everyone came around us out of the woodwork when we had you. Everyone was so excited. A beautiful little baby. We were so excited, and I just couldn't. The love from people at the time was amazing, and I had people telling me, I was a really good mom because the outfits I was putting you in, and how cute you were, and the pictures I was taking, and how hard I was trying to be a good mom. And I put not feeling good behind me, and I stopped complaining about it because I had you, and I was so happy. The happiness overtook how awful I was feeling until one day I woke up and it was worse. And you couldn't ignore that anymore when it got that severe. That's when I went to the doctor, and they said, oh, well, you still have Eagle syndrome. So I panicked to try to get better, and I had the surgery, and I kind of got worse, and then I found out that I had CCI, and at this point your dad is stressed out, and everyone is stressed out, and people kind of started fading away because they don't want to be around, I guess, a sickness, and it's not fair to you. And I'm sorry, but this story's supposed to be about me and your dad. But the truth is, me and your dad are still together, and we love you so much, and I just feel bad that it's being taken out on you of my sickness, and me and your dad aren't as happy like going out and doing things like we would and should be because I'm sick, and I put that stress on our family and in our lives, and I feel bad. And I think if I was better, everything would be better. But we're managing the best we can. And me and Daddy love you very much. And I love your daddy very much, even though it's hard a lot sometimes. But just know we love you. And that's our brief love story. I'm sure I'm missing some things. It's not an amazing, great love story. Some people have these amazing love stories, but that is ours. And I don't know what the reason is that I got sick, but I hope there's a reason. And no matter what the reason, I just want you to have the best life possible. And your dad's loves you, and I love you, and just know your dad's not a morning person for future, and your dad doesn't express his emotions as much, and I didn't know that at the beginning. So I think 10, 11 years later, now I know. But just I want you to know your dad loves you, and that's just how your dad is, and he likes to work, and if anything upsets him, I don't think it's you, it's just he likes to work and ignore things that upset him, which is why my illness is upsetting him, which is maybe why he's been working more. And I understand that, and I feel terrible, and I pray for you to have a good life, and your daddy too. And I don't know if there's a miracle for us, but either way, you gotta have the best life